Welcome to today's show. Free to Lead, Journeys of Leaders, driven by passion, inspired by purpose. Today on the show, we have Brad Engler, and Brad is an author and a leader, and he's written a book called Spheres of Influence, How to Create and Nurture Authentic Business Relationships. He's the founder of Englert, right? Englert
Yep.
Advisory. He's an advisor, technologist, does strategy creation, higher education, IT, advising, one-on-one career coaching, organizational effectiveness improvement. And he also does workshops to build those hard skills to create business relationships.
Hmm.
So without further ado, Brad, welcome to Free to Lead.
Thanks for inviting me.
You're very welcome. We met on another call a few months ago, and that's where I made the invitation because you've got a very interesting journey. And this is Journeys of Leaders and what you've gone through and where you started out and where you ended up. But yeah, really, if you were to plot your journey, what would you say? What would you tell us? What's the story of your background?
Well, I started with Arthur Anderson, which became Anderson Consulting, which became Accenture. And when I joined, the firm had 40,000 consultants. It now has 700,000 consultants around the world.
Wow.
So it's tremendous growth. And I was always interested in the use of computers in government, and that's really was my focus, including higher education. So my clients were Ohio State, Vanderbilt, Columbia, Illinois, Michigan, the big public and big private institutions. And then after I retired from the firm, a couple of years later, I got a call from the University of Texas at Austin, where I went to graduate school, and they needed an IT strategy. And they wanted someone from outside the university who knows higher ed. That was me. I started in October, an hour a week pro bono. By March, I was half-time. By June, I was full-time. And 8 years later, I retired again. I was a chief information officer for 7 years.
Great. And what have been your biggest challenges along the way with that?
The biggest challenge was my first year at the university, which was the year of H1N1 swine flu. And the leadership of the university asked, could we go online? This was 2009. Our equipment was 8 to 10 years old. Our learning management system was buggy. My tech support guy was erratic. The vendor's tech support guy was erratic. Our email system was custom built 20 years ago,
Yeah.
and students could have 50 emails, faculty 100 maximum. To get the next one, you had to delete one. And we couldn't do it.
Mm.
And it was really tough to tell the leadership we just didn't have the capacity to do that. That scared me. And over the next 8 years, we moved as much as we could to the cloud. And so learning management system, email, file sharing, etc. And in March 2022, my successor increased Zoom, increased VPN licenses, and 70,000 people went online to do research, study, and work.
Mm.
And that was so my biggest failure became my biggest success. It just
Yeah.
took 8 years.
Yeah. If somebody listening to the show going through something like that, oh my God, we can't do what we really want to do here. And it doesn't even look possible.
I was just honest and said we couldn't do it. And there, there was no way to make it magically go away. I couldn't even buy the equipment we had. It was so old. You couldn't go out and buy it anymore.
Yeah.
So I just had to be honest and say, hope we get through this, but we'll be prepared next time.
It did. It did come through, right? At the end. So I can't quite work it out. I think it was like 8, 9 years there of
8 years.
8 years.
The university has 54,000 students, 4,000 faculty, and 21,000 staff. So we're not nimble. We're like an aircraft carrier, and it takes a while to turn. And each of those migrations to the cloud took about 2 years.
Yeah.
And moving to voice over IP, 2 years, moving to new learning management system, 2 years. But the good news is I had the opportunity to work with faculty and staff to actually pick the new tools. When it came to the new learning management system, which every class uses, The president asked, what do the faculty and students think? They picked it. They selected it and they unanimously recommended we move. And it was such a better product that there was almost a natural pull to move to the new capability instead of people resisting it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting in your speaking, what I'm listening for is your leadership, right? It's quite often leaders don't really even relate to that they're leaders, but there's your leadership in all of that. You were the head of the IT for that university. And yes, it took 8 years, but it actually delivered what you were out to accomplish. So
That's right.
the book talks about relationships, internal and external, right? So the
Hmm.
internal ones are your boss, executives, your staff, all of that. And
Yep.
there's external ones, of course, with your clients and vendors, etc. So
Hmm.
in terms of your leadership and particularly around relationships, what nugget of wisdom could you articulate for people listening? Because there's people
Well,
listening in who
yeah.
trying to manage large companies and they are unyielding. They are slow to turn sometimes.
I actually met with a member of the faculty my first week at the university who's there for 40 years, a crusty person. I worked with him on a statewide network project that was very successful 15 years prior. And I said, give me some advice. He goes, get out of the office and tell people you give a damn. And that was the best advice ever
Mm,
because I didn't want people coming to me. I wanted to get out and go to them.
yeah,
So I had a network of my peers in the university who every 4 to 6 weeks, depending on how closely our organizations work together, I would meet with them in their office, which was great because I got to walk across campus and bump into people and
yeah,
bump into staff. And I would have an agenda and I'd say, here are the projects that are coming down the line. It's going to be really irritating. We're going to change all the phones. It's going
yeah,
to happen in 6 months. Don't worry. We have a contractor who will do the work and et cetera, et cetera. And then I would ask for feedback. How are we doing? Are we any issues? Um, what should we be doing? And so it's a very intentional connection with my peers. The most important relationship there was with public safety peer. He was responsible for the police department and security, building security. I ran the systems for building security.
mm,
When there was a crisis, we would go to an emergency management center run by my organization. So it had to work. And we had a
yeah,
backup in case there was a fire or something. And we would practice once a year with our teams. We would do a tabletop exercise where, say, there's a hurricane, tornado wiped out part of the campus. What are we going to do? We had a cyber attack one year. What are we going to do? And we had a power outage where we actually generate our own power. You know what? It went out. First time in 20 years, it went out.
yeah,
We knew what to do.
yeah,
And then the unanticipated things, at least we were prepared to get on a conference bridge and have the dialogue and then figure out what to do. Uh, and I would do the same with my direct reports. I would never ask them to come to me. I would go meet with them in their office. Why would I do that? So their staff see me walking through the work site. And I would
yeah,
say hi. I'd have conversations with people every week. And they
mm,
would see me coming to their boss, and that would help their boss have more credibility because I'm flying the flag.
yeah,
I had encouraged my direct reports to do the same thing. Build 6 to 10 relationships, start with one, but just get out there and go meet with people. I had a woman who reviewed my manuscript who worked for me, and she said, Brad, you left out this story. You need to tell it. You asked me to go meet with this IT director, and they hated us. I thought you were insane. I forgot all about it. And I said, she said, so I went out to meet with this woman. And over 6 months, as we got better, more predictable, more customer oriented, a relationship was built. And that person who hated us became an advocate for us. And her
yeah,
boss, who didn't trust us, because there was some past bad behavior, became an advocate for us.
Yeah.
And I forgot all about that. But get out
Yeah.
there. I said I'd rather have them in the tent with us than outside throwing rocks at us.
Yeah. There's years of wisdom there, you know? That's real gold for people. When you're a big organization, it's easy to get lost or feel like you don't really have a voice.
And some people say, I don't have time for that. You don't have time not to do that. Think of your customers. Those of you who have businesses, who are your best customers? You know who they are. You don't have to meet with all your customers, but get your best customers and reach out and periodically touch base and say, what are your goals and aspirations now?
Mm,
How can I help? Maybe I can't help, but I'll find someone who can help you. If they do want your help, set and manage expectations. Easily said. Someone said, oh, Brad, this is common sense, but not everyone has common sense. Set and manage expectations and then genuinely care.
yeah.
If you follow those three principles in any business relationship, you will be successful.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you to do something because I'm thinking a lot of my clients are like business owners. They're not working in
Yes.
a large organization in that way. I'm thinking of one particular business owner I was talking to today, right? And he's got departments not talking to each other. It's like sales are screaming out for leads, and marketing and promotion, they're not connected. It's your
Mm-hmm.
business. Why are you not actually getting that all connected? So
Mm-hmm.
that lack of relationship interdepartment within a business, and if you're the business
Right.
owner, what advice would you have for that
First of
division of
all,
the business?
I would meet with each of the direct reports one on one
Mm,
and set out your expectations. What do you expect as a business owner? You expect them to work together. It's like almost Three Stooges, just clunk their heads together and slap the ball,
yeah,
metaphorically speaking. But set that expectation that it's not all about you. You and the company will be successful if you work well with others in the company. And I expect you to do that. So I would ask my direct reports when they go out to meet with their peers
mm,
to understand what their my other direct reports were working on. I wanted everyone to know what the priorities were. So when they're out there meeting with someone, even though they're not the network person, they can say, hey, we're going to change out 21,000 phones. It's going to be really irritating. Everyone owned our major initiatives and could talk about it. And didn't allow them to be siloed. So just setting those expectations very clearly and then follow up on it. You don't have to wait for the annual review.
yeah,
If you see someone not behaving well, call them out. I had a building next to a rose garden. I said, we're going to the rose garden. They didn't know if they were gonna get pricked by a thorn or smell the roses. So sometimes it was positive feedback, sometimes it was constructive
yeah,
criticism. But I didn't wait. I just in the immediate moment, I addressed it.
yeah,
And so set and manage those expectations would be my message.
yeah. Very good, very good, very good. Yeah, you certainly can't afford to wait in today's world. Things are moving
Mm-mm.
too fast.
Mm-mm. You
Yeah,
have to have a bias towards action, is what I found. And you
yeah.
just can't have the inertia take over.
No, wait. I remember being told very early on in my career that this must be like 25 years ago. Waiting is the lowest operating state. Waiting
That's
for
right.
customers to call you, waiting for people to get back to you, waiting for
Hmm.
as
Hmm.
in your words, you go out there and you basically communicate.
That's right.
Yeah, very
And,
great.
and, and genuinely care. Ask your business owner, what is their vision of success? And how can I help you achieve that vision of success?
Mm.
Everyone likes to be asked that question. You ask your boss, what do you want to achieve? They probably have sales quotas, they have targets they're trying to meet. You want to be part of that. You want to help them make those goals because someday you'll be the boss and you'll need people to help you make your goals.
Yeah, yeah, very great. Very great. Awesome. And then, so what? So Are you retired now, or you retired from the university?
Yes, I retired twice, once from the firm at most partners go at 50. I was 51, so I was an old partner.
Yes.
But it was a wonderful thing. It's a young person's sport. Then I retired again from the university. What I'm doing now is promoting my book. I have 3 mentees. There's a group here in Austin called Austin Women in Technology.
Yeah.
My mentee is into cybersecurity. I'm trying to help her get a job in cybersecurity.
Right.
Good news is there are about 500,000 vacancies in cybersecurity. I think I'll be successful there. And in fact, I reached out to a mentee I had 5 years ago who's in cybersecurity to help her. And I have 2 other mentees, one at the university and then one who's at a big company here in town that was at the university. So
Yeah.
I like mentoring people. You mentioned the workshop, sales teams. I find their managers like to talk about how to build real relationships, not be transactional and reward real relationships. One of my big software company in town asked the sales team, "What do you know about your customer?" They didn't know anything about their customer. They didn't
Mm.
know if they had a family. They didn't know what their goals were. It was just a transaction. And I had a vendor like that who would show up once a year for their money, their
Mm.
annual maintenance fee, which was always 10% more than the prior year. They didn't care at all about us.
Mm.
And guess what? I replaced them.
Yeah.
So he
Exactly.
didn't have to worry about coming and visiting me once a year.
Yeah. So I can hear that. There's lots of different people listen to this podcast. What? Who is your book for?
It's for people early in their career. I have a lot of people my age buying it for their adult children who are in the first 5 to 10 years of their career
Yeah.
because these principles are not taught in business school. And I'm on the advisory committee of 2 business schools here in Texas. They don't teach this,
Right.
and you just had to figure it out. And then middle management, where you have a boss, you have direct reports. How do you navigate the middle management? And I've received really good feedback from managers who want to be in the C-suite someday of how to navigate that journey.
Yeah. By building relationships, nurturing those relationships.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
great. Brad, it's really been great to have you on the show. How do people reach out to you if they want to find out about you or simply order your book?
I'm on LinkedIn and I have a website, bradengler.com. Plus, I'll send a customized link for your podcast that'll direct people to a free read of the part of the book, how to buy the book, and then schedule a time on my calendar. So I'll be sending that to you after this.
Great. I think it's essential reading for anybody who's really interested in enjoying their career whilst they're going through their career, not trying to
It's
get
a
too
lot more
old.
fun. It's a lot
Yeah,
more fun.
exactly. Yeah, and you'll be way more successful if you build it on your relationships.
Yep,
Great.
that's correct.
All right, great. Brad, it's been great to have you on the show. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure.